Well, let's go into this DeSantis thing, shall we? And my understanding is that there's at least one professor who has like publicly made an issue, like, I'm not going to stop teaching Black history. But it's literally Florida has now outlawed the teaching of African American studies in the public schools.
As dictated by nameless bureaucrats.
And, exactly. And the idea is that it's not real education, I guess. This is what they're running on, folks. This is what appeals to his people. Here he is being asked, and this is, and to be clear, this is also an AP class. So, I mean, it's advanced history. Anybody who has taken any history classes that are advanced history classes knows that you will examine specific elements of history. Sometimes they'll be temporal. They'll be defined by temporal. Sometimes they'll be like on like the like development of a philosophy, let's say, or, you know, sort of intellectual history, but that will be specific. Sometimes it'll be an integration of those two things, like the introduction of a specific philosophy at a specific time in a specific country. I mean, so it's even worse than just sort of like some sense of like him trying to claim this is replacing, you know,
standard American history.
We shouldn't have, you know, you can't just get rid of American history and just say it's only going to be African American history. I mean, this is just out and out, full on racism.
And censorship.
And censorship.
Governor, on the AP African American Studies course that was rejected by the state, been a lot of criticism of that move. People saying, you know, this is exactly what we were fearing with the individual freedom bill. I don't know if you or the commissioner could maybe expand a little bit more about.
Sure. I mean, I think so. You know, as you know, in the state of Florida, our education standards not only don't prevent, but they require teaching Black history, all the important things. That's part of our core curriculum. This was a separate course on top of that for advanced placement credit. And the issue is we have guidelines and standards in Florida. We want education, not indoctrination. If you fall on the side of indoctrination, we're going to decline. If it's education, then we will do this course. So when I heard it didn't meet the standards, I figured, yeah, they may be doing serious. It's way more than that. This course on Black history, what's one of the lessons about? Queer theory. Now, who would say that an important part of Black history is queer theory?
Pause it.
That is
queer Black people.
Well, no, also academics.
That
I mean,
too. Yeah.
I mean, the point of it is that, yeah, there has been major contributions by major Black American figures.
James
Baldwin, for what is it? There's a really impressive documentary that's out about him right now. I mean, just like, you know, the idea that he's couching his racism in anti-gay bigotry is really sort of impressive. That is an impressive.
I'm not being racist. I'm being homophobic.
Well,
exactly.
He's saying like, well, we could deal with one in theory, but not actually Black history. We could deal with another in theory, but not actually queer history. But when they intersect, that's a double scary. We're talking scary to the nth degree.
If you do like Black people plus like capitalism is good, that's okay. If you do like gay people plus capitalism good, that's okay. If you do how like slavery and sexuality are linked, indoctrination.
Yeah, we need a formula for that from Ben Shapiro.
What's one of the lessons about? Queer theory. Now, who would say that an important part of Black history is queer theory? That is somebody pushing an agenda on our kids. And so when you look to see they have stuff about intersectionality, abolishing prisons, that's a political agenda. And so that's the wrong side of the line for Florida standards. We believe in teaching kids facts and how to think, but we don't believe they should have an agenda imposed on them. When you try to use Black history to shoehorn in queer theory, you are clearly trying to use that for political purposes. Yes, ma'am.
As opposed to what you're doing, which is cherry picking, choosing what you have decided can count as history. What he does is indoctrination. What they advocate for is indoctrination, because they want to whitewash the history of the United States to make it only about white people, and not white people in any critical sense, white people in the power position.
And I think, to a large extent, as a political matter, what he's trying to do is just signal to the Republican Party, which is a 90% white party, that I'm going to find any opportunity I can to diminish what you folks get shoved in your face about black people. And but when I have to address, sort of like exclusively Republican voters, I'm also going to couch it in the sake of there's also, because homophobia is a little bit easier to sell, he thinks, when you're getting on a TV. But there is reporters continue to question him on this.
I have
AP studies that forced parts have been listed as concerning the topic of movements for Black lives. Can you describe what about that is concerning that some people are calling?
Is that what the abolishing prisons? Is that part of the? So if you read actually what's in there, they're advocating things like abolishing prisons. Now that's a radical political position. You're free to take that in your own life. I don't think very many people would think that would actually work. But how is that being taught as fact to be able to do that? And I also think it's not fair to say that somehow abolishing prisons is somehow linked to black experience, that that's what black people want. I don't think that's true at all. I think they want law and order, just like anybody else wants law and order. So that is more of ideology being used under the guise of history, and we want to do history. And that's what our standards for black history are. It's just cut and dried history. You learn all the basics, you learn about the great figures, and I view it as American history. I don't view it as separate history. We have history, a lot of different shapes and sizes, people that have participated to make the country great.
Plantation master history.
Right. Different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
I wonder who's got the biggest size in his mind.
Here, me shaped like the plantation owner of Monticello versus this person shaped like a slave that I'm whipping.
And to be clear, again, this is the kind of stuff that, he's gearing up for a run in the Republican primary. I still am not convinced that he's definitely going to run, but what you do as a responsible politician, responsible to yourself, is you put yourself in the best position to compete within a primary, even if you're not going to run. You don't know yet. He hasn't made his decision yet. It really feels like he's going to, but I don't know. I think he's going to make an assessment. He's got a drop dead day. But he knows that if he's going to win in a Republican primary, he needs to be able to go out there. And it's one thing for Donald Trump to say racist things, but DeSantis wants to go and show that he's actually taking action.
Yeah.
That, Donald Trump can talk all the racism he wants.
Yep.
I'm the one who's actually engaging in it.
It's the shoe leather racism politics, right? He is actually on the ground going textbook by textbook, ripping out pages, blocking things out. Because he's okay with black history as long as it's told from a white capitalist perspective. He's okay with black history, but the rest of it, when you say intersectionality, that's scary stuff.
I mean, he's really also saying that just the idea of having a separate black history is on some level an ideological affront, because you're doing something that's different from what, is the normal history, which is white people history. But that's DeSantis. Again, if I had to bet, I don't know that he's going to run, but if he does, he's going
to lose the primary.
Scott Walker #2.
He does not have it. This guy is going way too hard, way too early with all these stunts, from Martha's Vineyard to this to Don't Say Gay. He has no sense of restraint, and he also has no charisma.